All right, welcome to this webinar where we're going to highlight really the whole company and our product offerings. And a few things before we get started. So, thank you again for joining us today. And I'm Dustin Froyum. I am one of the co-founders and currently work on our global alliances. And I'll just take a point of privilege and just give you a little bit of background about VirtualZ if this is your first time joining us. So we are a new entrant into the mainframe ISV world, and but we have deep history and roots in the mainframe. Our senior management team has over 200 years of mainframe experience, and as we celebrate the 60th year of the mainframe, we're really proud of the fact that we're the first woman-founded mainframe ISV in the history of the mainframe. We're also the first, not the first, but we are also Native American founded and led as well. And you'll see that as part of some of our branding and our heritage if you kind of check out a little bit more deeply about VirtualZ and our website. I'm lucky to have my friend and Mark Potts on the call. I convinced him to join me for this webinar. He's the VP of Global Services and also our esteemed host of our podcast, Skyward Data. You should really check that out sometime. He has some really amazing guests just talking about data access and data issues in our modern world. So that's available on all our major podcast platforms. So check it out. We also have our Director of Marketing, Elsa Flores, and Aaron Stoner, our Executive Administrator, helping us with some logistics. So special thank you to them. Today's webinar is being recorded. It'll be available for playback on our YouTube channel shortly after today's session. We encourage questions as we go, and you can simply record those in the chat, and we'll be sure to answer them live or follow up in writing after the webinar if we can't get to all of them. Also, we're trying something a little new today. We're going to do a couple of survey questions. So thank you for participating in that. And I'll apologize in advance if it doesn't work, but we're going to give it a try. You'll see a pop-up come up and you can record your answer. Let's try that. Let's try that now, and we'll kick this off with a survey question. And in this survey question, you can answer multiple answers. There's no limitation to your answers, so just select whichever is compatible for you. We'll just give it a second here. Okay. Yeah, so interesting. Can't read write between platforms, and yeah, we hear that a lot, and that is one of the key gaps in the market that we were really trying to address, and is a key feature set of our products. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And it looks like architectures are too complex as maybe the runner-up. And that's also a true one, and something that actually gets solved by the read-write capability as well. So you can you avoid some of those more complex shifting of data, ETL, and then having to do change data capture as well. So we'll talk through that here a little bit, and that's a great segue into the problem set we see. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is probably familiar to everyone that's experienced in the mainframe world, where the mainframe doesn't necessarily talk well with other platforms and environments, and so you're going through these legacy ETL, ELT, plus change data capture that really drives those really complex and costly structures. All right. So let's talk a little bit about fixing that challenge from that prior slide. So as we set out to change this paradigm, we're really striving to be the most customer-friendly, transparent, and comprehensive set of solutions enabling hybrid cloud with the mainframe. So what does this mean to you, though? While our solutions themselves are patented or patent pending and proprietary, right, our core products here that you're seeing, how they interact are all standards-based and open as possible. And so that's really important to really achieving some of those goals that we have. Our objective is also to be no code for the customer as much as possible. And that means that we are productizing anything that we're doing with a customer and make that supported within our platform. And we'll kind of show what some of those environments look like. And really eliminating that bubblegum and baling wire for data access that often is necessary to achieve the previous slide. One of the other things that we really want to be different about is being simple, monitorable license metrics with transparent pricing. I think anyone that's been experienced in this field for a while, it's a rarity that you'll see a mainframe ISV publish book price, and certainly it's really hard to see what a real street price is on some of these solutions. So let's just talk a little bit briefly about the current portfolio, and we'll touch on some of the roadmap of where we're going. So Lozen is our first product in this set. And really, these are all becoming product families as we expand our capabilities. But Lozen is meant to, for the mainframe to act as the server of the data, to allow simple read-write, real-time access to mainframe data from cloud and distributed platforms. ZAC is the inverse of that, where mainframe is the client, hence the name ZAC, Z as a client, to cloud and distributed data, SaaS application data, but also, and we'll talk about this a little bit deeper as well, allowing access seamlessly to cloud and distributed storage, whether that's object storage like S3, Azure Blob, or actually your SAN devices as well. And so there's really limitless use cases for ZAC in that regard. And then a product that we released just recently here in December, based on customer demand, is really a stepping stone to our full data replication capabilities. And Propels is today, we call it a utility. It's extremely efficient and lightweight, and we'll get a little bit into more of those capabilities, but provides you a data snapshot, push it to any JDBC compatible database. These solutions are really enabling a lot of different use cases, and you'll just see some of them listed here. But collectively, we're really looking to solve any problem around data access in the market for the mainframe and cloud and distributed platforms. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into each product and its feature sets, and then briefly, but we want to make sure we leave time for some dialogue and some questions here as well. So with Lozen, this product sits on the mainframe. It is a zip eligible workload, so it can sit on a zip engine, or you can run it under JVM. It doesn't have to be on a zip engine, of course. We have integrations out of the box. Again, this no code. You can just use NFS protocol with actually no code on the client side, just using the built-in NFS capabilities of the client OS. Each of our products have built-in data transformation engines, so you can go between EBCDIC and ASCII. You can output it in JSON, XML, CSV, and it's bidirectional. We have some NFS caching. We use NFS caching capabilities, and NFS has some really great attributes. It's binary, those caching capabilities. It's a mature protocol, but we also have some interesting things coming up on the horizon around caching and what we're really calling advanced caching in response to some customer use cases that we're pretty excited about and are really game-changing. All right, we'll move on to the little bit about the connector environment. So Lozen does ship with, obviously it has the NFS protocol out of the box, and then we also ship it with the Lozen API. This is a C and a Java API. But we also have deep integration into Micro Focus Enterprise Server. This is a really cool and powerful implementation of Lozen with Micro Focus. So you can recompile your COBOL code into the Micro Focus Enterprise Server runtime engine, plug into the callable file handler with our connector, without any changes to the data, semantics or calls. And so that is a really rapid migration and time to value. You don't have, and then you avoid all those issues with change data capture, also the having the full data integrity, data sharing between the mainframe, and that migrated application, just as if that application was still on the mainframe. We're also compatible with Open API, so any Open API targets or applications that conform to Open API, you can plug right into that, as well as Mule ESB. Just one other note about this platform: it is meant to plug into other data types. We have several discussions going on with on other connectors that are being requested to just make this more seamless. So don't look at this as the only list. If there's a request or something that we can do to consider to make this truly out of the box and no code for you as a customer or one of your customers, please let us know, and we'll be glad to have that dialogue. All right, a little bit about VirtualZ, and I'm just going to highlight a couple things about this. So you can push that data to any database with a JDBC driver. And one of the important aspects of this is that it is scheduled and incremental. So you don't have to replicate the data over and over and over, right? So if you have a batch, you're doing an overnight batch process to ship your data in a classic ETL or ELT scenario, you really don't have to do that. You could schedule, that incremental update every minute. So it's near real time. It is also an extremely affordable utility, and it is flat priced at $50,000 a year. I just mentioned that because this can save significant resources on your mainframe, because this is a zip eligible workload as well, and it has the transformation engine. So you don't really need to have another transformation tool as well. And then you'll see this is one of the product families where you'll see some of the greatest evolution here going forward, as we continue to round out our capabilities and really striving to be the goal of any data, anywhere, any time, any platform. All right, and then Zach. So Zach, again, is the client on the mainframe side. So the mainframe is getting access to data like Workday data or Salesforce data that you need to share back in your mainframe in a no-code from a no-code standpoint. Also, as I mentioned, this can access no code. You put your file, your database table out into a S3 bucket or an Azure Blob bucket or Google Cloud Storage bucket, whatever that target you want that to be. And so you can do that for backup purposes. You can use your existing tape tools, tape backup, or just put a file out there. We had one scenario where it was a print file. The print file they wanted to output directly to Amazon S3 so that print vendor could pick up that file and avoid writing that to DASD and consuming DASD resources. The other huge innovation here with Zach is really bringing iSCSI to the mainframe. And so that's going to also allow you to access your distributed SAN storage as well as S3 as if it was a virtualized mainframe disk. Again, a very simplified implementation, no code on the cloud side or the distributed side at all. All the code is driver-based, sitting on the mainframe. And so we're pretty excited about that. The feedback is really great, and we've got some exciting things coming to market with partners on this product as well. Great. I'm not going to cover this in great detail, but it just is a good summary slide. You'll have access to this as well after the presentation, but kind of give an overview of how all these products fit together, at least in their current state. So Mark, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. And for those that don't know, Mark spent 17 years with Accenture, deep mainframe modernization background, and so I love to ask him questions about this along these veins. So, Mark, what would it have been like to have access to these products in your mainframe modernization consulting practice?
Yeah, thanks, Dustin, and nice job, and appreciate you taking the time to go through our portfolio and provide the history of Virtual Z. Um, yeah, I mean, if I think about the different strategies, right, and I think one of the first questions we had from the audience was, will our products support legacy migration? The answer is yes, right? And so when I think about our legacy migration and some of the work we did in the past when I was at Accenture, and even the clients we're talking to today that are going down the path of doing legacy migration, more and more clients are looking for incremental migration and modernization. And so what our product, if we start with Lozen is a great tool and a great solution, a great product for helping that incremental migration. So, years in the past, if you had 1,000 batch jobs, clients were looking to take 1,000 batch jobs and migrate them to the cloud and get and have a big bang implementation, right? That's just more and more complex and difficult. And many of those programs end up failing and costing a ton of money. With Lozen, you can imagine, right? If you've got 1,000 batch jobs, you could migrate 100, and if those 1,000 batch jobs are all running to vSAM, you migrate those 100 batch jobs. You might convert them to Java, or you might replatform them to where they're running on Micro Focus. Leveraging the connectors that you went through, you could, as you convert and modernize and deploy those 100 onto the cloud, they easily connect back to that vSAM data sitting on the mainframe, for example. And so now you have 900 batch jobs executing against the same vSAM data that the 100 batch jobs are in the cloud. So all that data is in sync. You're not doing a bunch of data replication. You're not doing change data capture. You're not doing expensive ETL, right? You've got one single source of truth, and one simple way of accessing and writing that data. And then you can continue to modernize and start picking off some more of those batch jobs that are still on the mainframe, and it'll yield greater success, right? It dramatically reduces your risk if you think about it. And then I think about Propels, right? I mean, as you're starting to modernize and maybe there's a full application that you might be able to modernize and migrate off the mainframe, you want to constantly replicate your data, but you don't have to do that in real time. Again, ETL, change data capture, can be expensive and complicated. Propels allows you to take that data, replicate it maybe on a nightly basis or more often if you'd like, and put it in your data source of the future. So if you're going to take an application and you're now going to use Postgres, for example, on AWS, you can use Propels to replicate that data and put it in that Postgres database. You can also imagine the use cases where clients want to do more around their data and AI, and they want full access to that data on the mainframe. Both Lozen and Propels offer a solution through that. Through our APIs, a data and AI platform can easily connect into Lozen and pull the data you need. You don't have to pull the whole file. You can pull a single record. You can pull a block of data, and you can turn that data as JSON, XML, or CSV if you'd like. Propels also can replicate that data to any data lake or JDBC data source that Dustin mentioned, right? We support over 100 out of the box. And so you can then imagine if you're replicating that data into a data lake or into a new database like DB2Lu or LUW or Postgres or MongoDB, that the data platform can now connect into those data sources and do what they want from a data and AI standpoint as well.
Mark, I was just going to interrupt you before you moved on to Propels. Could you just highlight the that 100 targets with Propels and how we're working with Progress to do that? That's something that's kind of a new thing that we wanted to share today.
Yeah, when I mentioned that we have over 100 databases that we can connect to with Propels out of the box, the reason for that is we're working with a company called Progress Software, and Progress Software has a product called Data Direct, and really it's a JDBC driver that supports the access to multiple JDBC data sources, over 100. They also have actually JDBC driver, sorry, for like Salesforce and ServiceNow and things like that as well. Some of those are actually read-only, but some of those are write access as well. But that's how we are able to access that. And then if you don't know a lot about data direct in the product, it actually, their driver actually performs much better, at least from our testing, performs a lot better than what we see from the open source JDBC driver space. So,
Thanks.
yep. The other one I'll talk about is Zach, right? So if I think about a lot of the modernization that we've done in the past, it's really looking to save cost is one of the biggest drivers, right? And with the mainframe, as most of you guys know, DASD is expensive, right? And so if we look at the Zach use case, it really allows you to take a lot of the storage requirements that you would be using on DASD, probably not eliminate at day one, but maybe over time, where you can now use S3, Google Storage, Azure Storage as your storage for your mainframe. So the way that works is once you install Zach, it basically becomes a file system that's sitting on the mainframe. The actual files and the data and the storage is actually sitting in the cloud, right? Or off the mainframe. Doesn't necessarily have to be cloud. You could use other storage solutions as well that are off the mainframe. Because it looks like a file system on the mainframe, you probably come to the conclusion it doesn't require a significant amount of code changes, right? Your existing, backup tools and software or processes, they're just going to connect to the same file system they do today. Zach's just going to manage that essentially and write that data to the external storage, and then also do the reads as well. So that's one of the benefits. And you think about that, there's a significant amount of cost, and that cost could be leveraged into doing some of that modernization. That savings could be leveraged to do a lot of that modernization I was talking about earlier, with replatforming, refactoring, and migrating workloads off the mainframe, and helping fund maybe a data and AI project with a lot of the data that's sitting on the mainframe. We all know there's anywhere between 75 to 80% of enterprise data is still sitting on the mainframe.
Right. Thanks, Mark. I'll just, could I ask you to just talk briefly about some of our services offerings as well?
Yeah. So as Dustin mentioned in the beginning of this call, we've got a vast amount of experience when it comes to the mainframe. And so we are offering up our services to support organizations that might have some challenges, either with a modernization strategy, getting access to the data, to one of the data platforms. I mean, I could think of a call we just had yesterday where someone was struggling with performance of their database, and we were able to kind of guide them into something to look at. I haven't heard whether or not that suggestion had improved their performance, but like I said, with the amount of experience that we have, our chief technology officer and product owner spent many years at CA developing new products for CA before they got bought by Broadcom, was the originator of Top Secret, which is obviously one of the leading security software products that on the mainframe. So that's just an example of the experience we have, and what we can do to offer to help you guys. We can help you support with proof of concepts, both with our products and maybe other products as well. And then, like I said, implementation support. So if you've got some implementation of our products, or you're looking to do some implementation and modernization, you really want some experts to bounce some ideas off of or verify your approach and strategy, we're happy to help you with that as well.
Thanks, Mark. All right, we're going to try survey question number 2 now. And
first survey question, that was pretty cool. You get the real-time feedback.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
I like that.
All right, looks like it's live. You can select more than one, any of them that are applicable. So again, I think the real-time read-write access is kind of winning out in this survey, and then followed by the no-code solution. So pretty consistent with our first question, and hopefully we've answered how we can kind of support some of those needs in the market. All right, do we have? I know we had the one question that was submitted beforehand, and did we answer that adequately? If not, maybe some clarify in the chat, or if there's other chat questions, glad to take those now.
I don't see any feedback on answering that question, but We do have another question. Will you support access to databases on the mainframe? So I'm guessing that's for like Lozen and Propels.
Yeah.
Will we be able to? Yeah.
Yeah, to access that data. So again, our platform is really open. So yes, that is completely possible. We did not start there because the VSAM and file access and some of those complex structures and the differing access methods, right? And not really having, ODBC or JDBC drivers available in the market or other access methods in the market. That's where we started. But again, we can plug that in. If there's a use case that's particularly important to you, please reach out to us and we'll be glad to, talk through that. And we can potentially share more of what's in our roadmap there as well.
Yeah, it's the benefit of us being a small company, right? We can be agile, nimble, and we can respond to those types of requirements very quickly.
For sure. Okay, any others? Oh, how different is your solution compared to competitors like IBM DVM? Mark, you want to try that one, or you like me to take a whack at that
Go
one?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead if you want to take a stab, and I can fill in any gaps.
Yeah, I think one of the key differences is we operate a little bit differently within ZOS, which is kind of interesting given that DVM is really a IBM product. But I think what's really important is that we're not virtualizing the data at all, right? It's very low coded. It is native VSAM access, at least in the core use case. And that's why we can honor all the data integrity, RLS, transactional VSAM. We don't require logging to be turned on though as well. So we can work against that as that VSAM file or QSAM file is originally defined. Certainly our workload on the mainframe is distinguished. We see over 90% of our data access being dispatched to the zip, if that is the architecture that you want. And then, the built-in data transformation engine is really also very important, and doing that very cost effectively compared to what we've seen for DVM pricing in the market as well. Mark, anything else you'd add?
No, I guess I'm more curious if you answered Michael's question.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to, dig into there. And I was just using the IBM DVM as an example. Just curious as to, is it architectural differences? I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of ways that your solution handles this compared to some of the ones I'm familiar with, but I was just curious if there's some big highlights across the board. But I think you covered most of it.
Yeah, I mean, one of
Go ahead.
the major architecture or approaches that we've taken is we've taken like a mainframe first approach, right? There's a lot of innovation and that's available on the mainframe that folks have not taken advantage of, and we take advantage of that. And the way we've architected the platform is it leaves it very open. For example, right, you can when you install Lozen, you just do a simple NFS mount on the client server to Lozen and to the mainframe, and now you have full rewrite access to those files sitting on the mainframe, right? There's obviously some security integration and everything that takes place into that as well, but it basically leverages the full security capabilities that you have on the mainframe today. So all your compliance, all your regulatory things that you've built and harnessed over time on the mainframe are still true. And then through that, the full read and write, I mean, through NFS, you have the ability to create your own APIs, your own programs, your own products or tools if you wanted to access that data and manipulate that data, right? You can read write with JSON, XML, and CSV, and everything else, right? The others that I've seen on the market, like DVM and others, right, require a significant amount of of software on both sides, right? Both on the mainframe as well as on the client side. A lot of times they use APIs, right? Which requires additional coding on the mainframe side, typically. Or you're using other software, right? That just complicates things a little bit. So.
Yeah, Mark, I was just gonna, I don't know what the performance of DVM and RVM are in the market, but I will just say, Lozen, our testing is, 87% of native mainframe throughput, right? And that was not anything special on the hardware side, of the client. It was a medium speed network connection, so it wasn't anything huge or dedicated. That was 6 gigabytes a second. And then if you're using it in the context of an IFL, right, Linux on Z Linux, it's essentially native mainframe, right, but running mainframe to Linux, and doing that data sharing. So that's a really great interim step, or even net new applications that we've seen customers kind of bringing up. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you for that one, Michael.
Yes, we had one more. So I'm gonna get back to it. Sorry. Oh, does Zach require you to write data to DASD in the interim as an interim step?
Yeah, I alluded to that a little bit, but no. Actually, what Zach does is allow you to make that cloud and distributed storage your actual storage device. So it's not an interim step. It's actually that becomes the storage target. Simple JCL change to that being the target. So that's a good question. And maybe wasn't as completely clear when I addressed that before. Good one. All right. Anything else before we close here? Okay. I'll just Mark. We just had a blog published by our friends at AWS that Mark helped author with them, and so check that out. It's a great overview and highlight, particularly of Lozen and some of the use cases there. And then we have a number of resources available to you. So we have a lot of information on our blogs. I would really highlight the demos on demand. There's short demos of each product that really give kind of a great overview of the capabilities in a particular use case and the simplicity and the power of our products. And then we have a couple other webinars on the calendar here. So our CEO, Jeannie's hosting one in April, and then Mark, you're hosting one in May, I believe. So keep an eye out for those, and we'd be glad to have you join us. And check out Mark's podcast. And then if anyone's coming to Google Next, we'd love to see you there. Ken Aradano, who's I see him on here too, who's our CRO, and Mark and I will be there, and Brennan Vargas as well. So yeah, reach out to us, and we'll be glad to have a cup of coffee, get together, chat. So thank you again, and have a good day.